Was that where you were muting me? Muting me was because it was feedbacking?
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah. I muted myself too. That's no easy task. Yeah. It's easier with a button though.
Yeah. When you have the buttons, you can mute stuff.
I know.
That's cheating.
You can almost see yourself in public. Oh, really? Well, we won't do that. All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Sabbath day. Uh, got me and Dee here again,
Hey,
hanging
everybody.
out. All right. Where did we start today? 11? Yep.
Yep, 11:26. Yep.
Okay, so let's go, everybody. Let's see, who do we got? We got Landon. Howdy, Landon. Howdy, JJ. Howdy, Ashley. Someone in there named D. Howdy, Sabbath year. Howdy, Lori.
Sabbath. Hey, guys.
Okay, so who has anything from chapter 11, Deuteronomy chapter 11, from 26 to the end of the chapter? Anybody?
Well, I do, but I was going to see if anybody else had anything in the chat.
Who's got it? Who's got it? Nope. Okay, what do you got?
All right. So this was something that had dawned on me before when in 29 say I shall put upon the blesses upon Gerizim and the curse upon Ebal. And I asked somebody one time, I said, who was on which mountain? Which tribes were on each mountain?
Right.
And I think if you go and look to see which the tribes were, it was pretty interesting because it was like they were divided between whichever one was standing on the tribe, one was blessed and one was cursed.
Right.
Or the majority of it was.
It's interesting to look at. Of course, it's generally assumed that there won't be a curse just because you were in that tribe, but we do know eventually all of them became cursed.
Right.
And cast off.
Eventually, but I think one of them, I think the blessing, if I remember, was like Judah. I think Judah and Benjamin were on the blessing.
Right. Interesting. So yeah, I think it was Judah and Benjamin. The Levites were down at the bottom with the priests, I believe. Right, in the valley. They had the ark in the valley and the priests, and I think the Levites were there with them also. Rob Skiba, if you check it out, has some interesting commentary on Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal. Okay, what else do we have?
I think Rebecca said she had a question.
Okay. Let's see where.
She says, I have questions on the reading, but I don't know if she's posted it.
She's talking about when they almost wiped out the tribe of Benjamin.
Okay.
Yep. Remind us at the end of this, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so Deuteronomy 12. Who has something? Anybody take notes on Deuteronomy 12? Oops. There we go.
Oh, I did find the tribes on the mountains.
Okay.
So Mount Gerizim had Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Joseph, and Benjamin, and Mount Ebal had Reuben, Gad, Asher, Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali. It's pretty interesting.
It is. It very much is. Excuse me. I want to skim over this. We've got a comment or a question about it posted in the chat. There's something that jumped out at me, but I was reading, so I didn't write it down, which may be a mistake. Maybe I'll just have to stop.
That's why I have my little notepads in here.
Start writing down, or see if I can get my daughter to transcribe while I'm reading. So I'll be going.
Yeah. I used to work for a pastor that had horrible handwriting, and there was another pastor that had really bad handwriting, and his secretary used to bring me his stuff and say, "Can you read this?" Like, you can read Alan, so surely you can read this.
I think it's a prescription for Xanax.
Yeah.
Something that jumped out at me today, and I've kind of thought about it in the past, but today it's reinforcing something else that's said in Scripture, is anytime he mentions a commandment, right, he says, like in verse 12 of chapter 12, right, you shall rejoice before the Lord your God, you and your sons and your daughters and your men servants and your maid servants and the Levite that is within your gates. It never mentions your wife. And I always kind of got stuck on that in the past. But today it kind of hit me that really reinforces that we're one flesh, right? The man didn't.
Good idea.
Yeah, the man didn't have sons and daughters by himself, right? It's not just your son and not just her daughter or anything like that. Let's see. There we go. But it just really jumped out at me today. That's what that is.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think that we're supposed to take it for granted that that's what it means. But I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe somebody else will say something. Maybe not.
No, I mean, now that you're saying that, I'm like, you're right. That's absolutely right. Or it makes sense that it's not brought up.
Yep. Lori says I have an echo.
I had to put my headset on, Lori.
Wow.
The thing that jumped out at me was the lusting after. You can eat whatever you want that you lust after, and I think where some people get confused, I don't know if it's the way this translation's written, it said the clean and the unclean you shall eat.
Right.
Or shall eat thereof. But that doesn't mean the clean foods and unclean foods. It means those of you who are clean and unclean.
Right. So if you just got, I don't know, you just had to pull your grandfather's dead body out of your house, you're unclean by the law. Let's see. So the word lusteth in the Hebrew is avah. It's from the Hebrew word 183, and it means longing. Let's try this. Am I still echoing? I am.
I don't hear you echoing, but Lori says you're echoing.
All right. Who else hears me echoing? Nobody? No, I can't hear anything. You still talking? Okay.
I'm still here.
Okay. Question. When I get my organic grass-fed and finished beef, should I have it butchered a certain way? I think you should have it butchered in a way to bleed it out. Or if you're able to have it slaughtered immediately, drain the blood out, because you're not supposed to drain any of that blood. Zach Bauer's got a couple of good videos on that, on draining the blood out like as soon as it's slaughtered. Oh, now I'm echoing. Howdy, Lynn. Oh my goodness.
Back when I was a kid, we had a private butcher in town. So my dad raised cattle.
Oh,
And
really?
we would take it, yeah, we raised Charolais cattle. And they would take it to, it was just a really small butcher shop. And of course, I didn't want to know how they slaughtered it, but then I think it was pretty much a
They
between
went to
the
town on it?
eyes. I think it was a between the eyes type thing.
All right. It seemed like somebody has acquired my headphones. I'm not pointing any fingers at teenage people, but
Oh boy.
let's
Well,
see.
we could do a talks among yourselves type thing while you go hunt your headphones up if you need to. Like what was the thing on SNL? The topic is,
I don't remember.
you don't remember, it was Michael Myers and he was playing a Jewish woman. Coffee talk. Thank you, Lori.
Coffee talk?
Coffee talk. He was eclipsed. He would have to take a moment and he'd say, talk among yourselves. The topic is, yeah, I come up with some sort of.
Yeah. That what you were talking about, that gets clarified a little later about the clean and the unclean.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in chapter 13.
Okay.
Maybe not. Okay, anybody else got anything for chapter 12?
What is a hart?
It's a deer. It's a type of deer.
Okay, so the roebuck and hart are both deers.
Yep.
Okay.
Where was that? Did you ask or someone else?
No, I did.
Oh, okay.
That was one of my questions, was what was a hart?
Yep. It's a very easy to domesticate deer. They're very loving. No, I'm just teasing. It's a very loving deer.
Very loving deer, and you're okay.
The hart deer.
Well, it's sort of like a lamb.
Right.
The blood thing is very. One of the things that I did write down on my little thing was, they said, "You shall pour it upon the earth as water."
Yep.
And what came to my mind was Abel, when God went and asked Cain where his brother was, and he said, "Your brother's voice is crying to me from the earth." The earth opened up and took the blood.
Yep. Said no. Landon's got a good point, and I think about this quite a bit. That the blood thing is very interesting because of all the horrible things that people are trying to do with it today.
Mm-hmm.
Denying the commandments of the Father, but abusing the abominations for personal gain. But look at, they're doing DNA research with blood. They're having people donate blood and storing it, right? And this kind of goes back to something Gwen and I studied a really long time ago about when you break down the words for the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Um, it looks like it more properly should be the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good from evil. And if you think about it, that's how they sell everything to us. It's that's the sales pitch on everything. Well, you know, don't you want us to cure cancer? We need your blood to research it. Don't you, don't you want us to learn how to live for eternity? Well, then we have to constantly handle dead bodies and try to bring them back to life. And I don't know, it's just something that really hit me. But yeah, I agree, Landry. Lots of stuff to do with the blood.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, what Sabbath is saying though.
Where's that?
That we need aborted baby parts.
Yep. Yep, and that everybody clapped, yay, at the State of the Union address when the president said, what did he say? He said, we're gonna quit funding abortion. But then in almost the same breath, he said, we're going to find a cure to childhood cancer. Well, how are they doing that research? They're doing that research with aborted children, with murdered children. And then same thing, we're going to find a cure for HIV/AIDS. How are they researching that? Not only that, but it's going to allow people to continue in their abomination.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Well, and wasn't the deal with the abortion being legalized in this country had to do with vaccines? Is what I had run into, was that it was really, really expensive because they needed human tissue from that, and so they were having to have it brought in from like somewhere in Europe, like Sweden or Switzerland, stuff like that. So they wanted it legalized here to make it cheaper, to make it less expensive. I don't know that if that had to do with the eggs thing, and they were trying to take it from, take the blood sample or from poultry or something, and the people weren't absorbing it right well, and so they wanted an actual human human donor.
Oops. You still there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Are you there?
Yep.
Did you find your headset?
I stole a pair. I stole it. All right. Hey, it's almost totally hidden by my beard, though. Look at that. Look, I could just have it wired in. I'll become a robot.
You make it sound like you're, you don't have them in anyway. Yeah. You need to get some of that beard pomade that John Pounder's wife makes.
Dapper Dan. Okay, what about 13, chapter 13 of Deuteronomy? Let's hear your notes. What do you got? Honey?
What have I got? I'm trying to see if this is where it was. I remembered what it was that you had asked me a question about before we started.
Oh, okay.
Was the people that were foreigner was allowed to eat the food that had been died of natural causes or killed. Yeah. That was the foreigner was allowed to do that. You weren't, but the foreigner was.
So, for all the fun we make of people eating roadkill.
Hey, don't make fun of my Southern brothers.
Apparently, it's allowed. Well, it says dies of its own, so it's not roadkill.
Well, there are guys down here that if a deer gets hit on the road, they'll gather it up, take it home.
Negative. Still echoing with headphones. Wow. Okay.
Well, your headphones sort of kind of sound weird, but but
JJ says it's still echoing. So, or not. Lori, they give them good medicine they need and their children, but they also have to agree on trying trial drugs. Okay, they got some discussion going. If I'm still echoing, I'm taking this out because. Okay. Can we still hear?
I hear you.
Okay.
Landon. Oh, you and I are both from the South, Landon.
Now, eating's bad enough, but I don't even want to know why a guy's going to smoke a deer. All right. 13. Deuteronomy. I like that in verse 6, 7, 8, 9, verse 9, if anybody tries to entice you into witchcraft or following other gods, you are to be the first person that lays your hands on them and drags them out and says, regardless of who that person is, it doesn't even make a difference. Your mother, your daughter, your son, your wife, your friend. Shut it down right now.
He just was trying to do everything he could to help them to keep that stuff out.
All right. Lori's on the same page as me. How do you roll it? How do you roll the deer before you smoke it?
I think one of my things I think it's actually in 14. Yeah, he's just saying don't even listen, don't even inquire.
Yep. Don't even ask about it.
And so I'm wondering, that gets me thinking about all these people who are studying other religions. Yeah, we need to understand our enemy, but I'm wondering about all these people that are going in and they're studying about all these other things and studying, well, what about witchcraft and what about Kabbalah and what about all of that stuff to find out what is happening. Is this saying don't do that?
Right. And that's one of my aunt told me my grandmother had a theory about us fighting all these wars. Like World War II, we fought in Southeast Asia and then the Korean War and then in Vietnam. And she said my grandmother told her, we have all these soldiers over there fighting these wars and they're marrying these women over there. They're going to bring back their gods to our country. And look what we got now. You can buy a t-shirt with a radiating Buddha on it. And I don't think it's the one cause. I think there's multiple causes for our downfall. But we need to repent of all of it. And that's one of the problems that you get into when you look at Kings and Chronicles, is that kings would destroy the idols. So they do this part, but they wouldn't go all the way and turn back to following the stuff, the commands that we're talking about here. Okay. What are we praying for, State Center?
They're in Florida. They got hurricane
Oh, okay.
on the way.
Yeah. Okay. That. Let's do that right now. Father, thank you very much for this opportunity to study together. We ask you put your protection on Save Sinner and Penelope and all of our other brothers and sisters that are down in Florida, and the Carolinas and Georgia, Puerto Rico, wherever it is. They need your protection. Cuba. Intervene and let them know it's you doing it, and serve for your purposes, to call them to your will and serve your purpose in your glory. And thank you for that. In Jesus Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Landon, if you were here, I'd snatch you by the arm. Okay, no, okay. Yeah. I understand what you're saying now. But think about this, right? In all the, I don't know exactly where it is, I'd have to search for it. Hi, Rebecca. But our Father told Israel that if we didn't follow his ways, he would bring our enemies in to punish us. Mm-hmm. And, well, what do we got? I mean, just talking about that Buddha, right? We're not supposed to be having Buddha on us and doing these things. And one of the things the Taliban did, what Landon was talking about, those people, they blew up those, they're 1,000-year-old Buddha statues. It's such a disgrace, destroying the history of humanity. And, well, that's what we're told to do: destroy those idols. Mm-hmm. Same thing. They went in with, what was it, the tomb of Jonah, I think, in Iraq or Turkey. It got to the point where it was treated like a shrine where people would go and pray to it, and things like that. So, prophecy being fulfilled.
And I wasn't where I am now with when they were doing all of that, destroying all those things, and that from a perspective of an art student, which I was, that was really hard to watch, because you're just like, oh my goodness, that is gorgeous art. But then you find out where it all comes from.
Okay, did you see Rebecca's question? Ask it again if you would, Rebecca, because I didn't see it pop up.
It was like I forgot it was what I ran into, where I ran into it. I never thought about it. There's a statue, I think it's in Rome or in Vatican City or something, where it's called the Statue of Moses, and he's wearing a horn. He's got horns. And somebody was like, well, why does he have horns? Well, somebody said, well, it's power. Well, it wasn't. It's an old statue of Zeus.
Right.
Oh, it's Peter, not Moses.
Right.
And they just, now you go in and you kiss it when you go in, and it's not who they said it was. They just accepted it, and became part of the custom.
Right.
Landon, I find that UN cube interesting because 2001 Space Odyssey, the movie,
Oh, that black monolith.
the black monolith.
It's a space baby, man. Now, what is that, Lori, about the Lucy got burnt up last year? Who's Lucy? Hmm.
Oh, yep, it is Rebecca.
Oh, they're delayed right there.
Is that what Paul's referring to, though?
Possibly,
Of
but it
if
can't be.
because
It
they
can't
had the
be
same thing.
right. It can't be Islam because Paul was before Islam, but it's still the same idea, I believe. Yeah, halal is. Uh, it's kind of turned into a corporate scam too. Okay, so anybody got something from chapter 14? Chapter 14. Yeah, we were on 13 for some time.
I think I did. Is 14 the one where it says bring everything in that if you've got a city, if you've got people that are following other gods, that you're to go search it down?
Oh, no,
Which
that's
one
in
was
the
that?
end
Was
of
that
13.
13?
Yep.
Was that in 13?
16. Yep. Verse 16 of 13. And thou
Said go
shalt gather
search it
all the
down?
spoil
Yeah.
of it into the midst of the city thereof, and shalt burn it with fire. Burn with fire the city and all the spoil thereof for every whit for the Lord thy God, and it shall be an heap forever, and it shall not be built ever again.
Hmm. And then don't they go?
Yeah, they go.
And don't they go back? I mean, aren't we going back and rebuilding those cities?
We are now. That's for certain.
Like Babylon wasn't that
Well, I don't think that
saying?
was a place thrown down and totally destroyed, though. It
Oh,
was by Persia, right? When Cyrus came mowing through there, I think he destroyed
mm-hmm.
it. And that, yeah, Lori, that's the excuse they give, is that the horns on Moses's statue is that uh, it was representing from when Moses came down from the mountain and he was shining so bright that they couldn't look at him. Okay, so we're on chapter 14, 15, chapter 15 now. Now, this is something that I thought was kind of different. The creditor in the very first part of the chapter, you can exact credit, right, or usury
Mm-hmm.
on a foreigner, but not your brother. But then in verse 4 it says, save when there shall be no poor among you. So once everybody's not poor, then you can start charging usury. Is that the way that reads? Or start
Well, and
charging?
then further down it says there will always be poor. So
That's
that
true.
means you're to never start having credit.
right?
But isn't that part of the modern day thing of the what happened with the Jesuits and the Jews? They couldn't charge usury, and so they made people Jewish so that they could charge foreigners credit.
That's one thing I giggled at. Lynn, what verse was that? The baldness between your eyes.
One.
The what?
It's one. You shall not cut yourselves nor make any baldness between your eyes.
Oh,
Dude,
oh,
14:1. Yeah.
14? Okay. Yeah, I think that means unibrow. If you got a unibrow, you're stuck with it.
I had heard, I don't know why that's the between your eyes. I had heard one of the things they did for the dead was they shaved their eyebrows
Hmm.
for to mourn or to worship the dead. They would shave their eyebrows and shave their head, and that was part of that whole process of that. I'm not sure what that custom was.
Right? Well, it says we're not supposed to shave our head for that, but then at the same time, you're supposed to shave, once you finish a Nazarite vow, you're supposed to shave every hair off of your body, every single one of them.
That was just what I was getting ready to say.
Yeah. And then if you're a leper, if they think you have leprosy, same thing. Shave everything off and get examined.
So I'm wondering if it's because it's associated with the actual ritual itself as well. And it says don't cut the sides of your beards.
Right?
But didn't the Persians or something cut shapes or something like that into their beards for
Right.
worship? Is that what that was for?
Some of it. And that there's a dude, I can't think of the name, but he has a big long video on YouTube about the beard in history. And one of the things he says is that when you have your beard cut like this, like what we would call, it's properly called a Van Dyke, but everyone now calls it a goatee, is that's representative of the crescent moon with the sun, which is the same thing on all the Islamic flags.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing representing a sex act. Not on my mouth, you're not. We're not having that.
Isn't there some old pictures of like Arabian, some old engravings or something where they cut that and then the beard went out? It made sort of a
No, there's
more
some of
what
the
you're talking
Egyptian where
about,
they
more
put on
pronounced.
they bound it on the men, but then they
Yeah.
also would do a beard toupee,
Uh huh.
and the women would wear it too. So they would shave off all their body stuff and then put fake hair on.
Well, no, they did that in the Dark Ages,
Yep.
or Europe because they're having lice issues, and so it was just easier for them to shave it off and wear a wig.
So much easier to shave everything off your body than washing.
Yeah,
Than
they did
washing.
weird.
The what?
They did weird stuff, and then that goes to the back to the law, back to the instructions of washing, keeping yourself clean, and maybe that's one of the reasons they had so much illness and plague and things like that in Europe at that time because they didn't wash, they didn't keep themselves clean.
Right. That's what the supposition is from the scientific community, but more and more I think it's just because they were disobedient. That here,
Well,
you get
but
to
the obedience was to keep us safe and to keep us healthy.
right.
So I think the two go hand in hand.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, you look at it from a sin issue and from disobedience. Yeah,
Yep. Ashley, I think it goes back to being a peculiar people set apart and not like the nations. What about that last bit of 16? Who has anything out of that? It's pretty much starts off with a reminder of the feasts that they're to honor, but also that you were a stranger in Egypt. Don't forget that. You were a foreigner. What'd you do for three weeks? Nazarite vow?
no, didn't shave my legs.
Oh.
I'm replying to Lynn.
Uh, huh.
Yes, they did Sabbath year. They they did not like that idea. I think that was wasn't that right at the turn of the 20th century, where he was saying where they had figured out not to, that you always need to wash your hands between seeing patients.
Yeah. No, you don't. Yeah. Well, and I'm looking at the conversation. So did you have like people at work that kept saying, "Who is wearing corduroys around here?"
Me or Lynn?
Either one of you, because they hear your legs going woof woof
Whoosh
woof.
whoosh whoosh. Yep. No.
Uh,
No. I just didn't like it in the summertime. I
in,
may venture out again in the winter and see
in
if I
the
make
summertime.
it.
Oh my goodness. Ah, yep. Washing's kind of important. Okay, so what else? So there's 7 feasts, but only 3 of them are all the males required to gather at the same time. So that is interesting.
This was something that was brought up to me a while back in one of the chats. Was the 6 days you shall eat unleavened bread,
Right?
and is that an actual requirement, or is it because bread was one of the main dietary supplements that they had, and then they were not to eat unleavened bread? Or do you have to eat unleavened bread because it's the bread of, was it sorrow or bread of, what is it called up there?
Where they where they have the I can't think of the term, but right. No, they had to have unleavened bread as a reminder. But if you think about it, I'm going to refer everybody back to Zach Bauer on that because he has a good study on it. Because everything back then was basically what we call sourdough bread now, because you had to let the yeast grow in basically a culture, and then when you needed, what we call a starter for sourdough, and
Right.
we were going to make bread, you would knead that into the mix. So I don't think you need to have leavened bread. There's plenty of cultures around Earth um, that get along fine with flatbread,
Mm-hmm. Well,
unleavened.
you've got Hispanic, they a lot tortillas and flatbreads
Yep.
but it was just the question was, okay, it's the bread of affliction. So that's back up in uh, 13. So six. I mean six. 16:3.
Yep. No
It
unleavened bread.
said, even the bread of affliction. So if you read that, thou shalt eat no unleavened bread with it. Thou
Yeah.
shalt eat no leavened bread with it. So 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread. So if you're going to eat bread, you're to eat unleavened bread. But even the bread of affliction. So the bread of affliction to me sounds different than unleavened bread.
Then leavened or unleavened?
Unleavened.
See, I think it's well, because that was their affliction, right? Oh, maybe it was. Maybe, I see what you're saying. Yeah, kind of like the picky kids that don't like sourdough bread,
Yeah,
right? Oh, I don't want to eat sourdough bread.
I liked sourdough bread. So if they had to throw all the leaven out of their house, how did they get their bread starter back going?
You
Because I
just
forget how to make unleavened bread. I forget how to make the sourdough, the
right. You
leavening.
just leave it out until it's all starts that foamy process, and then you have a pet yeast farm that you keep throwing throwing flour into it every so often, flour and water.
Yeah, but how do you get it started? Is there a bacteria or something that starts
No,
yeast?
no, yeast is in the air. Yeast, it's
Oh,
everywhere, right? Yep. The affliction bread these days is bread with soy stuff in it. Oh, we're
ugh.
gonna add we're gonna add soybean oil and soybean filler, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll probably get that maybe on the second Exodus. You shall eat no soybean bread.
And that's really hard to find because when I was looking at the plant that plant-based protein patty meat stuff that I bought the last time, I started looking through it. It's got soy in it.
Yep, the is it Beyond Meat doesn't. It's made with wheat.
The Beyond Meat is made with wheat.
Yep, with wheat protein,
Oh golly. Well,
concentrated
did
wheat
you ever
protein.
read? Did you ever watch that video by Preacher Lawson where he made the beef patties, the veggie beef patty, or the veggie hamburger?
No,
What he made put in there? He didn't
well,
have any soybeans in there.
no, no, you don't need soybeans in this. Okay, so let's go to Isaiah now. Or was it? Oh, 66. 66. Nope, still echoing. All right. So this is pretty much a smackdown on Israel with, you know, you basically aren't seeking me with your heart. You're just going through the motions. Um, I mean, verse 3 is pretty harsh. He that kills an ox is as if he slew a man. And he that, it's just detestable to Yahuwah, to our Father. He that sacrificeth the lamb is as if he cut off a dog's neck. Offering an oblation as if you offered swine's blood. So he's making it quite clear. I don't even want that stuff. You disgust me with the way you're doing it.
Well, yeah, if you just go out there and it's just like that sacrifice that Solomon made. There was what 10,000 bulls.
Hmm.
Was that was that really purposeful? Or was it just an audacious show?
Oh, a show of look what we can do type thing. I don't know.
Hmm. So was it really from the heart, or is it just like, oh, look, I can afford to do that?
Hmm.
Or
Save Center, I've wondered that myself. What's the purpose of veggie burgers having meat flavor? Because it's kind of putting you in the same boat. I don't know. It's kind of like the difference between, I don't know. It's kind of like the difference between uh, actual adultery and lusting in your heart. Is the way I see it. I thought about it like that a long time ago. But to answer your question, it's because have you ever tasted Brussels sprouts? The,
I put vinegar on them. I put them. I get a cup and I put the Brussels sprouts in there and pour vinegar over it. So no, I don't know that I've ever actually tasted false Brussels sprouts.
ew. Okay. So verse 4 of Isaiah 66. I also will choose their delusions and will bring their fears upon them, because when I called, none did answer. When I spake, they did not hear. But they did evil before my eyes and chose that in which I delighted not. So that first clause right there, I also will choose their delusions and will bring their fears upon them. Now, look at how popular society is right now and what's happening. I think people are deluded and their fears are coming true. I ate Brussels yesterday. Ew, cabbage breath. Yeah.
Rebecca has is cheating though because she has homegrown ones.
Oh, yeah, that does make a difference on anything.
It's all organic. It's all chemical free.
Yeah. Yep. Voice from the city, voice temple, voice of noise. You know, it's just amazing how much information is packed into every small verse. Is your table wobbling?
Oh, sorry, I'm typing.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Thought maybe we were going to have another Arkansas earthquake.
I do live with the New Madrid Fault. Yeah, I need to get me one of those keyboards that's separate from my.
Right? So, okay, Landon, what are the other out of the top three icky edible plants?
Is he saying he doesn't like Brussels sprouts?
Yes. Yep. Beets and peas.
I like beets. You got busted, Landon. Now you got on up.
Uh, I don't know. There's a lot of it that, if it's prepared correctly, it's really good. But some of it's just nasty.
I'm not a collard green person, so and they grow abundance up here, wild.
Yeah, mustard, mustard
Yeah.
green that they were selling. Dandelion greens at the store yesterday at Natural Grocer.
Which what were they selling yesterday?
Dandelion greens, dandelions.
Oh, dandelion greens.
Yeah,
Oh, those would be a little bit bitter.
right.
My grandmother used to make collard greens with lard. She had a jar sitting beside her.
The traditional Southern bacon pan dripping.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. They that's a popular thing. I grew up with bacon fat jar as well. Funny how it never spoiled.
Right.
Gross.
Viral pig. Well, and now they're combining. What did I see not the other day that they're growing organs? They're growing human organs in pigs and mice. And
Yeah.
so, isn't that in here? They eat the mouse and the pig.
Yep. That's what Sabbath's talking about in Viro Pig.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. It's in Isaiah too. Oh, it's this very chapter.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's what I was
Yep.
looking at because I remember
There
reading
it
it.
is. Yeah. Now, how would they have predicted that 3,000 years ago?
They didn't.
Right?
Yeah, 17. Eating swine's flesh, the mouse shall be consumed together.
Ew.
Right, Ashley?
Yeah. That. Yeah. If you think you can't live without salt cured pork or like smoked bacon and stuff, get yourself some smoked salt and give that a try because it's a really great substitute, especially if for some
Smoked,
reason apple with
smoked
smoked salt.
salt?
Yep,
Smoked salt?
smoked salt.
So is it
Yep.
like raw? Is it like what kind of salt? Where's the salt come from? Is it like Himalayan
Well,
salt
you can
or?
use any kind of salt you want. That you're there by Zach Bauer. They sell Applewood smoked kosher salt.
Yeah, I'll be up there in about a month. I can go to the store.
Beef bacon's good, Landon, but boy, is it expensive. You think bacon's expensive. You think pork
Yeah.
bacon's expensive or turkey bacon. Wait till you find beef bacon.
They have it at Natural Grocer, and it is pricey.
Do they? I haven't seen it at the ones we got here.
Yeah, well they have it here.
Beef bacon.
Hmm.
Yep, they got it at a place here called AJ's, which is like a upscale grocery store,
Hmm.
and they
Me either, Landon.
yep, but it's 20 some bucks a pound for beef bacon.
Wow. That at Natural Grocer wasn't that expensive. It was like $6, $7, but it only had like maybe 10 strips in it.
Right. Thanks, Lori.
Bye,
Love you
Lori.
too. Bye. Okay, now what were we saying about Lori? No, I'm just kidding.
Gossip used to be one of my things. I try really hard not to gossip. I liked being in the know, so I like knowing what was going on, all the ins and outs. So
Right.
I used to like to gossip, and so I struggle with that.
Yep. Sabbath year, it tastes like salt, which is what all bacon tastes like.
There you go, Sabbath. That's how wonderful she is. That's
Yep.
right.
She is. I like having Lori here. Yep. All right, let's go to John chapter 6, 35 through 51. What do we got? Oh, they're flipping out on the bread of life.
Do what? Oh,
The Pharisees, the Jews, are flipping out. How can you say you're the bread that came down from heaven? And they're not. They're just not getting it. But we got people like that these days, though, that claim to follow Yeshua, claim to follow Jesus. Well, what is it? Transubstantiation. We're actually going to turn this bread physically into the physical body of Jesus. And then we're going to eat it. Right? You vampire. No,
was it? Didn't David Carrico? Didn't they have a? I think they had something on that about a month or so ago. A false communion coming, and
right.
it's going to be something like that, isn't it? Was that what I was remembering?
They believe uh, they believe because Donna had a vision about it that at some point the communion with the little wafers and drinking the
Mm-hmm.
wine is going to miraculously turn into flesh and miraculously turn into blood. Not just the Pope saying, okay, now it's his flesh, now it's his blood.
Right.
Yep. Verse 49 really jumped out at me. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. Didn't help them. He didn't make a lot of friends.
No.
He just put it out there.
Yeah, and then right after that, this is the bread which cometh down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die.
Yeah.
Mm.
So since he brought up manna, what about that? What do you think manna is or was uh, from the descriptions you get from it?
Well, it doesn't it say it was like coriander seed?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it was a seed that they could actually make different types of things with. They could make flakes out of it or boil it or create different type of breads and
And it also says it covered the ground like a sheet, though, right? Or like the morning dew.
right. But I was thinking morning dew more along the lines of almost like cornflakes, frosted flakes, little pieces of that, sort of like what large snowflakes look like. They said it tasted like coriander seed, but it wasn't seed.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. Very much so. Yep.
But it had some substance to it because it could rot, so it didn't like melt.
Mm-hmm. That's the other
What was
strange.
your thought?
It
Huh?
melted. That's the other strange thing about it is that it melted. Right? Yeah.
But it didn't melt because if they kept it, it would actually rot.
Right. No, but I mean, it could melt.
Oh,
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
oh, I see what you're saying. After if they didn't gather it up, it would melt off the ground.
Yeah.
What's your thought on what it is?
Oh, I have no idea. You know what it reminds me of, though, or something that we have now that seems to be very similar to it is the emergency survival bars.
That are dehydrated.
Well, they
Oh no.
no, they have these other ones. It's wrapped up and it's mostly fat of some kind.
Are you talking about pemmican?
Nope. Let me see if I can find it. Let's try that. Emergency survival food bars. So this, and then of course everything pops up that I'm not looking for.
Right.
They, but yeah, it looks basically like white block of fat, kind of. Or here, what's this? That. Dun, dun, dun. Nope. There we go. Okay, this kind of.
Oh yeah, I just found it about that same time.
Yeah. Okay. So something like that. But I've seen ones that are more white. They look like almost like wax
Huh.
than than any type of bread or something.
You know they
Yeah.
make pemmican out of suet,
Yeah.
and then meat, and then whatever else. I think some you can throw blueberries or something like that in there. Um, but you get to thinking about that. You know, the brain has to have fat
Right.
to function right, and that's one of the reasons that they've got some illnesses right now that I think as they took 40 or 50 years ago when they decided that we needed margarine and
Oh
stuff
yeah.
like that instead of like olive oil and coconut oil, that's part of what's caused some of this stuff. But going on keto, because I went on a keto diet, you live off of fat. 75% of your diet's fat.
Right. Yep. Ooh.
I don't want to know about insect secretions, Sabbath.
Hmm. It's interesting though. Honeydew. All right. Does anybody who else have something? Talk to me. Now, what was the question asked at the very beginning? Someone was asking about. I said, let's talk about that later. Oh, Sabbath year. Remember when they about wiped out the tribe of Benjamin? Yep. What were we talking about that for? Let's see.
Maybe the blessings and the cursings when we were talking about the standing on the two mountains.
Right? And that wasn't the event that led to that. Is they raped the man servant girl.
Mm-hmm. Till she
Like
died.
repeatedly.
Yeah.
Yep. Can't say they kind of didn't have that coming.
Right.
Yep. Blessings and
Oops.
curses. I don't remember what I was doing with that. Oh yeah. So, anyways, well, this is a really long study, and apparently we droned people out.
Yeah, but
So,
isn't the tribe of Benjamin, even though there's not much of it left, aren't they part of they're the part of stick of Judah, right?
yep. Yeah, they are. They're attached. They got attached to Judah
The southern tribes.
after that. Yeah, that whole gig. And let's see here. That's what I was doing. So, yeah, we had a small crowd today. Like we're ever huge crowd. But anyways, all right, everybody, thank you for joining us. We'll let you go. Hope you have a wonderful day of rest. JJ, I saw a picture of Manna one time in a book of the unexplained. It had sea monsters and Sasquatch in it too. Great story of manna falling from the sky. Interesting. Okay, so everybody, I will hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you, Dee, very much for helping reading.
Thanks for letting me join.
So everybody, we love you all, and we will talk to you very soon.
Bye.
And bye.